Hey everyone, welcome back to the Caf Convos podcast, where we get down to the nitty-gritty aspects of student life. On alternating weeks, we have new main episodes every other Monday and new subseries episodes on every other Wednesday. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And give us a follow on Instagram at Caf Convos Podcast. Enjoy! Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Girls Talk, a new sub-series here on Caf Convos Podcast where we get into the nitty-gritty aspects of being a girl. So these sub-series episodes will come out every other Wednesday on weeks where we do not have a main episode out on Mondays. But before we start, we'd like to acknowledge that we are definitely not speaking for everyone, and what we talk about is based on our own experience as girls. So today we'll be talking about our childhood and how being a girl kind of affected our childhood. Well, not like in positive and negative ways, you know what I mean? So I wanted to ask everyone how being a girl made it sort of different for your upbringing than maybe other people around you.
I definitely, because as a kid I grew up with a close friend who was a boy because our parents were like really good friends, and there were a lot of things that I was just expected more of versus him, and I was expected to be more mature, more clean. I had to like look after him even though we were like the same age, and like him and his little brother. I was just like, I guess I like as a girl being like the only girl within like the family friend circle, I was just automatically assumed to like be okay with looking after everyone. We're like, I'm the one left in charge because boys are so rambunctious, you're such a good girl, you can do all the things that you need to do to take care of them even though you're the exact same age as them and you're like not even 6 years old.
The caregiver role is
Yeah.
so I remember we used to have like barbecues and like a bunch of kids would come over and there were like 8 of us, and I remember being like 6 years old and my dad telling me like we had like a pool, right? And keep in mind there were like at least 15 adults, but my dad would always tell me, he's like, if someone gets hurt, it's gonna be on you because you're the oldest, you're in charge. And I was just like, okay, like I don't know like what I think like,
And then
okay.
when you get hurt, there's like nothing there for you.
Yeah, like, all right. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason I'm like aggressively the quote unquote mom friend, is I've just been put in a caregiver position for a lot of different things. So it's like natural for me to want to like protect. I don't know. Protect sounds like a really weird word, but
yeah. I know 2 of you guys have younger brothers. What was it like having like a boy in your family and like the difference between you and them being raised? Like I know there might be like an age difference, but like I think you guys are close enough where it wouldn't be too big of a factor.
It's hard to say because my little brother is 5 years younger than me, so I was already in kindergarten when he came into the world. So I don't know. I think there was like responsibility put on me, but it was more because I was the older sister. I think it would have been the same if I was a boy, to be honest. So I can't really blame that on being a girl. I do feel like the toys I had, like I had those princess toys and like Barbies, and my mom made it out to seem like, oh, you and your brother will never fight because you will have different interests. And I've never fought with my brother, but he still took my toys. And I don't know, it was fine because my parents didn't care. But then if I'd get upset, they would not allow me to get upset. You know what I mean? Like I can't share. But if I want to play with my brother's toys, they get upset with me. Like, why are you playing with with your brother's Beyblades?
Like
You know?
I guess the confusion.
Like there was like a double standard, I guess.
I think that
like I can't play with boy toys, but the boy can play with girl toys.
I don't know. I think I feel like I have to say this just because like it's such a big part for me. And I didn't want to start this out too heavy, but like my whole from like the time that I can remember having cognitive thoughts, my existence as a girl had so much like bearing on my life. Like, I was born in China and I was adopted and I'm brought to Canada. And while I don't 100% know if this is true, I was raised with the notion that I was put up for the adoption because of like, it was most likely assumed that because of the one-child policy in China at the time and the, like, I guess traditions or like societal expectations for like boys in that country, that it is statistically more likely that the girl will get put up for adoption. And for me, like as a kid, being told that like, oh, like you're here literally because you're a girl, that definitely was like, I don't know, like that has influenced a lot of my opinions and like a lot of my viewpoints existing as a girl. So I don't know, I just like I didn't want to make this too heavy, but I just felt like that is something for me that is very like big.
I mean, it's definitely a big thing to be told. Like, oh, you're a girl, so therefore, you know.
Yeah, because I couldn't take the family name, I
Mhm.
guess, or like then I was inherently less
Yeah.
than.
I also, as a kid, I think a lot of girls that I know did a lot of things that were more girly were pushed onto us, like art classes, dance, and like
Mhm.
more I don't want to say like just more traditionally girl dominated things.
Mhm. Mhm.
But also since like I know a lot of girls who are in sports too as well, but the entire notion of going into sports just because it's not a girly thing, you know what I mean? It's not like
Mhm.
I know parents will like put their kids into like they'll put like their girls into like non-traditional girl things to like fight the gender norms, but like the only reason that they're doing it is so that their girl kids are not like other girls, and the fact that
Oh
traditionally
yeah.
girly things are seen as bad. Like there's like no winning in the situation. Like you either go into
Yeah,
Yeah.
you either go into like
no
a
winning.
more girly, traditionally girly thing, and it's
Mhm.
just viewed as, oh yeah, it's because you're a girl, all girls like art, blah blah blah. Or
Mhm.
you go into sports and it's like you can't get as
I
far in
think
sports as you can, like if you were a boy, just because it's like a male dominated thing, and B,
Mhm.
a lot of girls going into it go under the notion that you have to like sports because other girls don't like sports. So that means you're more boy like, which is better, quote
Yeah.
unquote better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
winning in this situation.
I think there's this I think there's a like as a child, I felt like there was always trying to like stamp a label on like a
Mhm.
girl and like really box them and like, oh, you're like like the whole idea and trend of like girly girls versus tomboys.
Yeah.
Like that was such a
Yeah.
big, I was such an aggressive like, I'm a tomboy. I don't like I had the
Wearing the snapback.
Okay, my
Oh
snapback
my
days,
god.
that was like I was like I can admit it, like I was such a big like I'm a tomboy. I'm not like the other girls. Ugh, girls are so dramatic. Why would you want to be friends with girls? Because I don't know, like a part of me felt like if I succumbed to this and I was like going along with the stereotype of what it meant to be a girl, and that stereotype was somehow like quote unquote inherently bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's so like gross. Like what the heck? What?
Yeah, you know, like in kindergarten when they ask you your favorite color, I feel like half the girls, like I know they said blue, but then they come like and then we talk and we're like, it's actually pink, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
I
Like,
Because
hated
it's such a
pink for
bad
so
thing to be
long. It
girly.
was pink. It's a color. Like
Yeah.
what?
Like you're raised to be girly, but at a certain point, like when you meet other kids your age and you start going to like school where you're in elementary school, you're in like grade 2, and then you realize that if you are a girly girl, it's hard to make friends, especially ones that are boys, because boys will not like. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, from a young age, it's like ingrained in you that, oh, if a boy likes you, whether it's like romantically or platonically,
Platonically.
it means you're cool. But
Yeah.
you can't get a friend that's a boy unless you are less of a girl. You know what I mean? And then there's like
Yeah.
this competition thing. It's like, oh, I'm the least girly, I'm the most tomboy, I do sports, I'm not scared of mud, haha. And then it's like, you know what I mean?
Like, does anyone remember?
Just,
okay, this might unearth some memories, or maybe you never had this experience, but like there were YouTube channels that I used to watch as a kid, and they would do like skits and stuff. I'm not gonna name the channel, but there was like a long phase of like girly girl versus tomboy, like Gigi the girly girl versus like Alex the tomboy, and it was just like the most aggressive, like, and it was always made out that the tomboy was the cooler one. The tomboy was the more
and
like
the girly
liked
girl would
one.
always be like dumb and
Bratty,
and
whiny.
like
Yeah. And it was just
like having interests that relate to more like traditionally feminine things was bad, except you were still expected to be feminine, but you couldn't be too feminine because then you'd be a girly girl. But you gotta like, you know what I mean?
Femininity is generally ridiculed from youngest age to old age. Like even today, you can still see the same things. People, you know, as a child, you know, oh, girls love shopping, girls love dresses, girls love, you know, purses, but I don't. So that makes me cooler.
Yeah. And I think you can still see other girls. Like, I know we're talking about childhood, but if you like even look at it now, like when as like teenagers, there was like a while ago there's a whole bro girl versus like,
I hated that trend so much.
Like that one emoji, you know?
Like it's,
it was just a way for everyone to be like, oh yeah, I'm a bro girl. Imagine, like, I can't imagine being a emoji girl. Like,
but it's not even like
and like treating one higher than the other just because it's less traditional. You know what I mean?
But it's not even that. It's like this ingrained notion that women are not allowed to exist beyond like a 2D faceted label.
Yeah.
Like why, like women are reduced so often in media and in everyday life to like singular personality traits, like the basic girl, the emo girl, the like I don't know, country girl, like,
because they're all a type, like, no matter what you are, at the end of the day, it's going to be ridiculed. Like, if you grew up and you were really girly, it's like, oh yeah, you don't think about anything other than makeup. Or if you're like a tomboy, you're like, oh, you're never gonna get a husband because you're like a boy. Or like, you know what I mean? There's no
girls can't win.
Yeah, like
let's title the episode "Girls Don't Win."
And I think as we grow up and head into elementary school and stuff, and you start going into like before it was like, oh, boys like trucks, girls like dolls, but now it gets into like boys like science and math, girls like arts and English. Like subjects are gendered so heavily, and I know now there's a really big push for like women in STEM, but a lot of the background of that push is like, oh, you don't want to do girl stuff like fabric knitting. You want to do boy stuff like science. Like, I know that's not everyone's approach, but a large factor is don't do traditional girly stuff, because doing sciencey stuff and mathy stuff that are more boy-like is better. When in reality, neither is better. You know, they're like separate things. You can't compare them.
Yeah, and there's like okay, this is like, I remember as a kid hearing like I just saw so much like imbalance in the way that like my mom was treated versus like my dad, even just like the things that were expected of my mom versus things that they were like, I feel like to me, I think like women have to do like double if not triple to earn any level of the same amount of respect that a man does. Like my like traditionally in like, if you were to, okay, like this is how I see it. Like a man will go out, do his work, do his job. I'm not saying that's not hard. It probably is. Working is terrible. He does his work, comes home, and then there's very little familial obligations there. Like, how often do we hear men being praised for like changing their child's diaper, right? Whereas a woman in like modern day and age, she's kind of quote unquote expected to have a job, because if she's a housewife, she's lazy. So she has to go out and do this job. a job probably equivalent like every other guy does, like go out and do a job, but then she comes home and she still has all of those familial expectations to cook, to clean, to provide for the family, to run the household. And if she can't manage that, somehow she's lesser than of a woman. And it's like, why?
I think it's definitely a lot different when we're kids, we can like, we have the internet, we have like other people we can talk to. I know for my parents, especially living in a place that's not Canada because they grew up not in Canada, it's really hard to break out of like the cycle of like, oh, you're a girl, you stay home, you like do chores, you're a boy, you gotta go out and work. And I'm really lucky that my parents are here in Canada where I get to choose either or. And it's just like you're told that you shouldn't, like a lot of times you're told, oh, don't do girly things like staying at home or being like a housewife. Don't do that. That's bad. You have to do something that's male dominated to be worthful. But like, why is it not worthy?
But at the same time,
like,
at the same time, you're expected to be at home. Like you're expected to have a 9-to-5 job and expected to be at home doing things, because why would the man do chores and do things like that? Like I remember just like I don't know, like it was so like my mom would do everything in the house and still work like a pretty decent, like high paying job, and my dad didn't. Like it was just the normal. And I don't know,
like, and it's like a little confusing when you have two different, like so many different things told to you, like, oh, because you're a girl, you gotta like look after your friends who are boys because they're boys, you can't trust them, you gotta clean after them because they're dirty, and you're a girl, so you're not. But also at the same time, it's like, don't do girl stuff like cleaning because that's bad. You don't want to be a girl like that. You gotta do cool like, truck, math, science, boy, sports things. It's like, well, then which one do I do? Like, is it like you're telling me I gotta do this, but you're also telling me it's bad? Like you're saying don't be girly, but you're making me do girly things, and it's just like, yeah. And I'm like 5. I don't know anything that's happening. I just want to like sit there and watch the cool show on the TV. Like stop making me.
I don't know. Like I felt like it was not even about like whether or not I was being a girl. It was more just like, how are you tailoring your actions and your attitude to accommodate the boys around you? Like I think that's what it boiled down to. Like be feminine and be girly when it helps other boys. When it's like cleaning up after them or taking care of them, but be boyish and be more like masculine, quote unquote, when they want to talk to someone, because you have to be the one to change and relate to their thinking. They will never change and try to relate to your thinking. Like I was always told so often as a kid in school, because like I was a lot more mature than a lot of other kids, and I was always told like, oh yeah, you know, you got to be patient with them. You got to like understand them. Like you be the one to justify and understand why they're acting the way they do. They have no obligation to do the same for you.
Yeah, because it's so common that you're like told that, oh, girls mature faster than boys. You just got to deal with them. Let them like be dumb and stupid towards you. But like, why? You know what I mean? Like even from a young age, like this is so common. I feel like everybody has an experience with this when a boy is like really rude to you or like really mean and like aggressive towards you, and you're like visibly upset, and you tell somebody like, oh, I don't like the way that they're treating me because they're really mean to me and they're hurting my feelings, and it's like, oh, shut up, they're just teasing you.
They like you.
Yeah, they like you, but like why? Like why do I have to just deal with their inability?
Why?
You know? Like why not just say, hey, she doesn't like the way you treat her, so just stop because you're making her sad. Or it's just like, oh yeah, she's just a boy, boys are just like that, you just gotta deal with it. But like, I'll fight you.
Like, oh yeah, it was such a weird like attachment to. Oopsies, sorry, I knocked my mic. Such a weird attachment for girls to be attached to some sort of boy, even at like the age of SK. Like the amount of times my dad would say like, "Ooh, who's that boy's here boyfriend?" And I was like 4 years old. I was like, I don't know. He spit in his food today. I couldn't tell you. Like, like it's so mind-boggling. And like one of the biggest experiences for me is like as a girl in childhood was how like outright mean, like really mean, some boys were allowed to be to me, and their actions were just constantly excused. And I can vividly remember a few times where I like turned around and lashed back out at them just because I was so sick and tired of being mean, like someone being mean to me and like telling me that I'm like stupid, dumb, etc., etc., etc. And I was like, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? And I yelled because I think I had a right to yell. I was upset. And then I was the one who got in trouble.
Like I can vividly remember in grade 6. I think I was more of a girly girl.
If we're using those labels, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I definitely got into like, I guess like I was interested in more girly stuff, and I think like the guys in our grade were definitely like, yeah, Ella just thinks about freaking clothes and Ariana Grande and freaking pink and dresses. And then just like granted, I was pretty annoying. If I like regardless of who I was annoying. I mean, I was like 12. Like, what do you expect? But
yeah,
I can really distinctly remember like one kid just like talking about how it was like expected of me to like, I think I was upset over something not being pretty, like, oh, all you care about is being pretty. I bet you that like you don't even care about like being smart, you just want it to be pretty. And I mean, girl, this is a grade 6 history class. I don't know why you're taking this so seriously. But I just remember being really upset. I'm like, dude, I do care about the class. I don't like I just want my pen to be smooth. Like, what do you mean? And then I remember arguing over it, and then I got moved because like it's even though they like initiated, like I got moved, and then they were like, oh yeah, you just, I don't know, my teachers like, you would be more okay with it. But like, why would I be more okay with it? I didn't even start it. They're the one freaking making fun of me and saying all I care about is like
girls' feelings are constantly told that they are insignificant and invalid and small and not relevant when something is visibly upsetting someone.
And maturity and silence in girls in general as children is rewarded and encouraged, that so that as they grow up they'll speak out less, they'll mind more, they'll
be passive. It's a passive. Exactly. Like the amount of times, I hate the word mature. I hate it so much. Like the amount of like I've been put in groups with all boys on the basis, like I asked my teacher afterwards, because like when I was younger, it took me literally until high school to learn how to tolerate other people. And I know that that probably makes me a bad person, but whatever. But like in elementary school, I rarely got along with guys because I refused to allow them to be mean to me, because why are you being mean to me? But I would get put in group projects with all boys that my teacher knew I didn't get along with that well. And I asked my teacher once, like, why do you keep putting me in these groups with these boys? And she's like, oh, because you're mature, you can handle them and you'll keep them under control. And I'm like, I'm not your mother.
Suffer? Like, why should you have to suffer in a crappy group just because you have to be like their mom? Like, that's so
exactly. And I would still get marked just as like equally. Like, I put in this work, they don't really care. They are mean to me in the process, and then like, what? Yeah. Why is that my responsibility? You're the teacher. You should be able to like corral them.
Yeah, and on like the opposite end, I feel like I wasn't that mature, like academic wise. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like I wasn't even academic. Yeah, but I think if I did the same thing as somebody in our class that was a boy, like acting out, like talking a lot, there would be different consequences. I can remember a lot of times where I've been like pulled aside and told that like I'm doing too much, you know? But there would be kids in my class who are boys that would be doing the same, if not more, and would just like, you know, they're just boys. Boys are just annoying like that. You can't do much.
Yeah, like
it's like you get different punishments for the same thing under the basis of, well, I'm a girl, I should be able to be like quiet and sit there and take pretty notes, you know? But boys are boys. They don't do that. Whatever. They can yell in class and do boy stuff, but you can't because you're a girl. Sorry.
Like, I don't know. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me the lengths people go to excuse boys' actions. Like, what is so? I'm not, like, I don't mean this in a harsh way, but like, what's so special about them? Are we not all the same? Like what? Why do they get a free pass for like pushing me down the slide? And then when I turn around and say, what the heck? Why would you push me down the slide? I get yelled at for being dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dramatic.
Oh.
Being called dramatic as like when you're like upset and you start calling them out and you're like, oh, you're so dramatic. Is it the time of the month? Girl, I will literally fight you right now. I'm so just fighting you. Like, or just because you're always expected to just like be calm and like be like, I don't want to sit there and be pretty, smile.
We're expected to be rational, but everyone uses dramatics as a reason for why women can't do things.
Mm-hmm. Or like if a boy did the same thing, it'd be like, oh, they're not dramatic, they're just outspoken. They know what, you know what I mean? Like
passionate.
They're getting what they want.
Passionate. Passionate. I will be passionate up in your face. I don't even care anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, it was so confusing too, because like I like did not like any boy in my elementary school for like the longest time. Like, I don't think I became friends with them until like maybe end of 8th grade, when I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I guess you're cool. But like prior to that, I could not tolerate boys. But I still wanted them to validate me.
Yeah.
Oh,
like in elementary school, it is so common for like you would like as a girl, it was not uncool to have friends that were guys. In fact, it was actually cool because it showed that you were more guy-like and you're a tomboy, and like you're told that that's better than being a girly girl. But as a guy, you get made fun of for having friends that are girls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not cool to have friends that are girls. So it's like you have to be mean to them because you can't be their friend, you know?
Yeah. And Anna and I and Ella too, when we were in like 6th grade, we had a friend who had like this happened essentially, right? Because it sucks for the guy too, because like they're being bullied for something that literally is not worth being bullied for. But it's also really sucky to be told like, oh, this person is like, they suck because they're friends with you, on the basis not because you're a bad person or because you did something, but because you're a girl.
Yeah. And like, it's guys don't really need like in elementary school especially, you don't need like girl validation. You're not told that like, oh, you're cooler if you have like a girl that likes you, you're cooler if you have friends that are girls, because doesn't matter, like as long as they have their bros, as long as, you know, the boys, they got each other, you know. But if you're a girl, it's like, oh, you're just friends with girls? Why don't you have any guy friends? Like, why don't you do guy stuff? Like, why are you all freaking sitting there talking about pink, you know?
Pink.
No guy friends? And it's just like, it's like there's like pressure to have male validation. You know what I mean? Whether or not you like them or not, like you don't even have to like them as a person, but like being accepted as like one of the boys' friends is such a big thing in elementary school.
Yeah. No matter how mean they were to you.
Yeah.
Still, like, you know, my first day of 1st grade, you know how in kindergarten you're stuck in like the kindergarten pen and then there's the gate blocking you from the other grades? The first day I got into like the big pen, because you know how JK and SK were pushed together, right?
Yeah.
So I had all these like guy friends in SK that went on to grade 1. The first day I made it over the fence. I spent my first day getting chased around by 2 guys, and they were like threatening me to take my clothes off.
Oh,
girl.
And it was super weird. But like they just chased me the entire time. I don't know where all my girlfriends were, but like those 2 guys just kept chasing me. But even after that day, because they were my only 2 guy friends and they were in 2nd grade, that I felt the need to stay their friends, because otherwise I wouldn't look cool anymore.
Yeah. Okay, that's another thing. Boys chasing girls in the playground or like consistently pursuing them was so normal. Like I just like, again, like I did not really vibe with any of the guys in elementary school, but I still like, there was like a really gross like part of me because of society that was like, oh, if a guy chased you, that means that you're cool. Like that was what? Like what was I thinking? What the heck?
Yeah, like just having a boy interact with you, it's like unfortunately,
it.
like as like bad as it might be, you do feel like a bit of pride, like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
could be like one of the boys, you know, because you don't want to be a girly girl because nobody likes girly girls.
They're made fun of in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like children's media makes fun of girly girls. So it's so that you would see boys making fun of girly girls, you know, talking like in a weird way and like doing certain, you know, actions and mannerisms that mimic, you know, the stereotype girly girl, and be like, ooh, that's you're a girl. And then you would just have to take it, because like, what can you do? Besides mock girls with them, you don't have any way of defending yourself, because you're just a girl.
Because how do you defend yourself against something that you have no say over? Like at least if someone was like, I don't like your hair, it's stupid, I could be like, well, I like my hair. When you're constantly being told that your existence as a girl makes you less than, it's like, okay, well, what do I say? Like, oh yeah, I'm a girl, dang.
Yeah.
Like,
like there's so many times where girls that show interest in traditionally girly things, like I guess makeup, fashion, stuff like that, they're always portrayed as like the bad guy, or like they're dumb.
Basic.
They're like, yeah, like it's like always bad to like
the popular girl.
Yeah,
you
like,
know,
like Mean Girls is such a big movie, and yes, the Mean Girls were all like, every single character in that movie was objectively bad, but the Mean Girls were bad mostly like if you don't look deep into the movie, they're bad because they're the cliche popular girls who wear little skirts and wear pink. You know what I mean? Like, it's on the base level. It's they're dumb and they're girly girls.
It's the need to like flatten out female character.
Yeah,
like,
and like you're also like, if you like girly things, you're just not expected to be smart, because girly girls are always like ditzy and dumb. You know what I mean?
You're too pretty for. I hate.
Yeah.
What does my appearance have to do with anything? Ugh!
Like, I don't want to talk too much about high school, because I do believe we're going to be talking about this in the future. But like, a lot of the things in elementary school do carry over to high school, where classes start to become more and more specialized, and therefore get more and more like
gender
dominated. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, like things carry over in high school. I don't want to talk too much about it because we are going to be talking about this eventually, but
yeah,
just it doesn't stop. Like, keeps going. Like, even in workplaces, I believe. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I could go on for so long about how I hate the way that girls are treated, especially at such a young and critical age where you're developing as your person. And it's a way and a system in which it starts girls down the path to passiveness.
Yeah.
Like, passive to aggressive and violent behavior towards you starting at such a young age. Even if it's something as simple as a boy pushing you down the slide, you're expected to be okay with that.
And it also ingrains, like, from a young age, you're told anything girl-like is bad. That ingrains in your head being a girl is bad. That's ingraining internalized misogyny in you. And when you're like 5 and you're learning about this, and it's hard to get rid of it when you're from from the second you're born until you start to like get older. When you're learning stuff, you're also learning about misogyny, and that being a girl is just objectively bad. And like, you can't help it when you're like 17 and you're trying to unlearn all the things you were taught as a kid. No matter how hard you try, there's still going to be a bit left in your head. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it
took like even just things like saying like the term basic, right? Like, took me so long, and I still like find myself like, I'll look at a girl and they're wearing like jeans and a white t-shirt, and for some reason in my head I'm like, oh, she's so basic. Like, why is that a bad thing? Why are jeans and a t-shirt bad?
That's what's trendy. Like, what's wrong with wanting to be what's trendy? Like,
yeah, like,
from a young age, like, it's hard to unlearn things, and especially stuff like but like it's one thing to unlearn like holding your pencil weird, you know, like that's one thing, but like believing that girls are just bad even though you are a girl, that is so hard to unlearn, and it affects you so much because you're just growing up hating like the idea of being a girl. You're like always wanting to prove to yourself and other people that you're not a girl. You're like a tomboy. You're not a girly girl. You don't like girl stuff. It's like it's tiring.
Your value is so inherently tied to your identity as a woman. Your people who have never met you will make assumptions and have a preconceived notion about you based on the fact that you're a girl. And almost all of the time that sets you, like, if let's say like if you meet someone, you meet them at ground zero. I know nothing about you, you know nothing about me. You can prove to me that you're a good person, you can prove to me that you're a bad person based on your own merits. When you are a girl, I feel like it automatically sets you down to a negative that you have to even work back up to a zero.
Because the standard is just suddenly higher. The societal standard on girls is just not to bring down any other experiences, but for girls, there's just, as children, there's just so much more expected of them.
Yeah.
And you're like not even 12 and you're learning to hate yourself. You know what I mean? For being a girl. Like you're 12 and you're hating things that are girly. Like even if you like pink, you can't like pink because you're told that it's bad. And you're like 12. Like who cares so much about a color?
Your brain is developing with hatred towards yourself, and that's absolutely terrible. And like did you guys ever have times where you're like, man, I wish I was a boy? Like, did you ever?
Yeah.
Like,
this would be so much easier. I would be taken so much more seriously
if I was a boy.
People would respect when I do this if I was a boy.
People would stop treating me this way if I was a guy.
Because when you're, as a girl, you're treated with your gender in mind. You know what I mean? Like it's a factor. It's like a part of you that affects how people will treat you. But if you're a guy, it's just your skill. You know what I mean? Like
it's a lot less.
Like comparing skill. Like if you're a guy, it's just you're just based off of your skill. But if you're a girl, it's like, oh yeah, you have the skill, but you're like also a girl. Like that comes into play.
Like it's so your worth, like the value that society assigns to you is so heavily influenced by the fact that you're a girl. And it starts at such an unbelievably young age. Like there's like we've been ranting for about like close to 40 minutes, and there's still so much more that we could unpack.
Like we were originally gonna do the entire girls talk in one sitting, but we were like, there's way too much to one thing, and there was so much that we just kept adding that we just wanted to make it an ongoing series. Like whenever we felt like adding to it, we could. Because there's just so much.
I think there's so much to talk about. Yeah.
And I forget what I was gonna say. Someone else.
Sorry. Yeah, because like we sat down to plan this episode, and within like an hour we had like 3 pages of just notes of things that we wanted to talk about, because not only is being a girl something so complex, but it's also so individual to everyone.
And even if like you are like your parents are raising you to not believe in those things, and they're not teaching you these like really crappy mentalities, no matter what, once you get into the real world, you can't escape it. Like there's no escaping it. It's everywhere. Like even in like your classes or your teachers, like some teachers like just indirectly just teach you this, you know what I mean? Like just I don't know, it's just there's no escaping it. Like one way or another you're gonna find out, and it's gonna ruin your life.
Pretty much, like not even at all like exaggerating, like the and it's like it's still so many things that like you see and you're taught as a child as normal are so wrong. Like there's no other word. Like it's so wrong to teach girls that violence means affection. It's so wrong to teach girls that
they just have to deal with all the
things that they like
that people throw at you just because they're boys. Because boys just do that.
Anyways, I think. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in relation to childhood specifically? Any final thoughts?
Just as like a final, like, in capturing of all of it, from the second you're born, the more girl you are, the less worthy you are. And from like then onwards, it's so hard to like erase the mentality of that from your head. And it just creates so much competition between girls. Even like a lot of it is between girls. There's so much competition between girls to be the least girl.
But then also be able to be a quote unquote girly girl when society asks you for it.
Yeah, as long as you're like pleasant, you know,
to someone else. Yeah.
Yep. Not even to yourself, just to everyone else. As long as you're pleasant, you fit their criteria of a girl, then you're good.
But that criteria is so specific and so hard to fit.
And changes with every second.
Yeah. Exactly. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you want from me, but what?
Like, you can't be yourself because like, society expects you to keep changing to whatever the norm is for a girl at the time.
Like, being a housewife, and now women in STEM. Oh, you don't want to go into STEM? Oh, you're like setting women back by not one. Like, like how is okay? One more thing. I heard this a lot as a kid that like you were like even my mom would say like certain things like, oh, this would set women back. Like being a housewife and not wanting to go into like a proper job is setting women back by doing things that we're told are inherently womanly and desiring that and wanting to do that because that's what you want to do, right? That's somehow setting women back by doing the more womanly quote unquote things. Like what? It's like there's so many contradictions. It's just
there's definitely a lot of things that we can branch off of what we learn as a kid. And I think we try to focus a lot about childhood development and as a girl. We did branch a little off topic, but that's okay because
that's what you expected.
Yeah. So is this the end of our little mini episode? I guess it is. All right.
I guess so. I hope. Sorry, go ahead, Ella.
Just keep in mind that we will be continuing this discussion about different topics. Some like there's going to be a lot of overlapping and connecting. It's it's going to be like a big web of like being a girl and everything. It'll all make sense. Hopefully
Maybe
one day. But we will keep talking about this. So if you are interested, these sub-series in general will be posted on Wednesdays where we aren't posting a main episode. But the Wednesday that there's no set schedule for whenever these episodes come out. It's just when they come out, they come out. Just know that they're on Wednesdays.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed our very first episode of not only Girls Talk, but our first episode on our Wednesday sub-series. So I hope you guys stick around. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and on Instagram at Caf Convos Podcast. And I hope you have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.